tell me about the China exposure you have. You have supply chain there, you have consumer, and competition is really what you have from China. What did you make of the relationship between the US and China that we just saw overnight?
Thanks for having me. That's a great question to ask. Very hard to answer, actually.
We like to do that in journalism.
No, I know. But I think there is, China is started out, as I often look at the old telecom movie from China, right? It actually started out as being a prioritized sector in China. So they had almost 100 vendors if you go back 30 years. They consolidated into really two that became fierce competitors over a decade.
Huawei being one key one.
Huawei, of course, being the biggest. And they started out being, of course, low cost and fairly simple. Today, they're, of course, a phenomenal competitor. And it's the one that we benchmark ourselves with and say that's the one we need to beat, actually. We need to win on technology. We need to win on cost position. So for us, the competition with China is front and center. And has been, and I do believe that for the rest of the world to compete with China, you need to lead on technology.
But you've been outspoken in the past, sort of pushing against this idea of sort of a focus on your own country and banning in Sweden. They pushed out Chinese competition, and you actually at the time said that's the wrong thing to do. Yeah. In the US, that is your key markets now, are the US, the Japan, there are other nations. How do you think about China being excluded, and should they be?
You know, the way to think about China is actually it's multi-pronged. So if you take telecom again, it's a scale game. They have scale in their domestic market. That's a market you need to be in. But more importantly, what was also clear is that given the development in China, economically and use case-wise, you saw data consumption grow much faster in China than anywhere else in the world. That led them to lead on or demanding certain technologies ahead of the rest of the world. So unless you're on the same development curve as they are in China, we're not going to be able to bring those solutions globally. So if we take in our case, we have what's called massive MIMO. Basically, it's a way to increase capacity in the radio network. They needed that earlier than in the rest of the world. And therefore, if you're not there when that happens, you don't develop the technologies at the same pace as they do in China. So I think it's a much more interdependent world. You need to think of the world as being interdependent.
And you're dependent on geopolitics, tariffs, inflationary pressures, the Strait of Hormuz, again, front and center today. How are you managing that?
You know, we actually took a decision a number of years ago now to say that we have 3 home markets. So that was recognizing the US, because it's a front-runner market, big. India, in those days, was big. Today, it's starting also to be front-runner on technology. Japan is very big in telecom and also an early adopter of telecom. So we said, that's markets we need to win in to make sure that we combat the scale of China. So that we did that. Then we said we need a flexible supply chain in order to manage any disturbances. So we built a factory here in the US.
How big is your manufacturing now here in the US?
We manufacture a large portion of what's supplied to the US is manufactured here in the US. So we built that we commissioned it about 2020. So we were ahead of the really supply constraints in that sense and the tariff issues. So we've been able to use that manufacturing footprint, R&D footprint, to actually manage a bit of the geopolitical exposure.
Now we look at the markets today and extraordinary ramp higher on the back of AI. AI is the excitement in your area as well. Look, you've got competition with Nokia, who has got a strong relation with NVIDIA, and they've gone big into data center. Briefly, how are you thinking about the AI opportunity?
We think of the AI opportunity as a massive opportunity for us, for the simple reason that AI will ultimately move out to the physical world. Call it industrial AI, physical AI. And that's going to require inference at the edge of the network to manage the latency requirements, etc. And then connectivity will be needed. So we will start to enter a world where everything has to be connected. So when everything is connected, you can't connect them with wires. It just simply doesn't work. You're going to need the terrestrial cellular network to provide the backbone to scale AI. So I think of AI, yes, it's going to fundamentally change the economy. It's going to be a driver of productivity. It's hugely positive.
Yeah.
And for us, it will be a benefit because we will see a new type of traffic coming in the network.